ceceni ya Inoro TV. Ni mamwe mamari tukuharirie Inoro hwaine. IBC neshoreire igoti bishakwendi ure metabo ya gitereto utigirira githurano kiari na waragania. Wakili William Ruto nimerete igoti ati amathitagi ni maremetwo kuonania ure form 34A athogiro. Twareda igoti rinyitirire hotani wake. IBC ekiuga aria matwarite shire igoti ni mareka mathafu ure gutagirire. Gavana Kang'ata gwathana aruti a wira ruhonge-ini rwa ugima wa mwiri kaunti ya Murang'a ariho mbeca iria macerithĩirio. Egatho cia mwanya muno makirio ro hari ungikoro wiroreire no ni ceceni ya Inoro TV ciarite wega thaa imwe mane mathaa ma hwaini mathaa ma kumanyithia mari tukuhariirie mutawiritu na njira ciko ni wa mbere wa macharia njira Ken Wakra. President Muthure William Ruto arenda igoti togeru nyitirire uhotani wake tondu itua ria gucoka githurano-ini anyitiriire ati rigathingithia bururi na ikero itari cionekana agitetera uhotani wake. President Muthure anyitiriire uhotani wake no ahigirie ikero ciothe cia watho kuringana na oira uria utamanitio ni commission ya ithurano na mihaka na cira uria ang'ethaniri ake mahandite wa gutetia githurano kana guthurwo gwake nduri na mithingi ya watho kana oma wa maudu tauria mahanikire. Waweru wa Nyambura ni uratuigurira gikunjo giki na ripoti ino.
Commission ya ithurano na mihaka ikigira kiharo gutetera itua ria kwanirira muhotani wa giturwa gia president na President Muthure Ndagitari William Ruto agitetera uhotani wake. Cira wao tunganire hari kuiguithia igoti tugiru atirirerwo riteaniria moimerera na itumi citari na mithingi ya watho na kungi wira wa maheni uria wahuthirirwo cira-ini wa gutetia moimerera ma giturwa o giki mwaka-ini wa 2017.
We have our rows at the polling station. They had agents. You had agents at the CTC. We have the original. You have agents at the NTC. We have original. We have what is transmitted in the portal. We have original. All of them tally, and you are saying your client's votes were deducted. How?
That the burden of proof in election petitions lies on the person who seeks judicial invalidation of the election, not on the respondents.
There are no less than 3 governors addressing you elected under this election. There are no less than 4 senators elected under this election. And there are no less than 4 members of parliament elected under this election. Are they happy with their own election? If they are, how then is it that this election is irredeemably flawed?
Igicokia kiuria kiria gicuhiriire githurano giki giakana muhotani ni amukirire makiria ma nuthu ya kura iria ciaikirio. IEBC nyitirire ati ang'ethaniri a itua riayo mareka mathabu ria gutagirire na nikio mataraingirana. Kuringana na IEBC, ceceni cia guikiria kura ciari 26,229 na aikia a kura othe maturanĩirwo hamwe mari 1,022,458 na o ceceni yari na mashini yayo ya gutambura aikia a kura. Muthenya wa githurano mashini 45,994 nicio ciarutire wira na cikihotithia andu 14,239,862 guikia kura. kuria citahuthikire register ya ibuku niyo yahundukiirwo na andu 89,889 magithurana na njira ino ceceni-ini 229. Ceceni 6 citiathuranire tondu wa kugumirwo ni ngui. Uguo ni kuga ati muthia-ini andu 1,326,751 ni mathuranire na kura cia andu 113,618 cigithuka, na tondu kuringana na IEBC kurora kana muhotani ni amukirite makiria ma nuthu ya kura iria cikitio, no nginya iria ciathukire ciambe cirutwo. William Ruto na makiria ma kura 7,100,000 ni ahingitie ikero cia kwanirirwo ta muhotani na kuneo certificate kuringana na watho.
So to 50+1, the court made its determination in 2013 on the vote cast and valid votes and the rejected ballot. Rejected are not votes. Votes is an authentication of preference. There's nothing called rejected votes. That's a rejected ballot. The court emphatically made that decision in 2013 and in 2017. To the petitioner's answer as to that, I think the simple answer will be, get over it.
Makihundukira commissioner na aregani, President Muthure na IEBC manyitirire ati he undu utaraumukanirio igoti tondu gutire hindi andu maingirire ofici-ini muthia-ini wa mwaka muthiru makuukirwo ati mubango mugima wa githurano wari na gatithio ndagika 30 mbere ya muhotani wa giturwa gia president anirirwo.
What the commissioners actually wanted to do was what was stated in the affidavits of the chairman, the Professor Gulier and Mr. Molu, which was to moderate the results so that a pre-agreed or pre-arranged result can be declared.
Everybody is on board. The public can see them declaring the results. What is this that happens within the half hour? There is a concerted effort, external, to ensure that the process comes to an end without a declaration.
IEBC yugite ati ni guthirima bururi mutino angikorwo igoti ni rigwitikiria moimirira ma githurano makambaga kwariririo ni commissioner ayo mbere ya manirirwo na itua ria commissioner aringiri gakindirwo. Ta githurano-ini giki IEBC yugite ati itua ria commissioner aria ingi rirarongoreirio kugarura itua ria Akenya makiria ma 7,100,000.
The suggestion that we should have a plenary conversation about the result would cause huge ramifications to this country, because what would happen if after the elections have been conducted and completed, commissioners for whatever reason take different positions and decide that they are not agreed on the declaration to be made and that a declaration cannot be made until they all agreed. If that was what was intended by the Constitution, nothing would have been easier for Article 138(10) to have made reference to members of the Commission.
An interpretation in the opposite direction would lead to a constitutional crisis where commissioners who think they have a role to veto and moderate the expression of the will of the people of Kenya in the vote can decide to form factions and have their own candidates, declare their own results, which they have verified in quote and tallied in quotes.
IEBC itikirite ati githurano gitiari kirungaru 100% no mathenya makio ti maiganu gucenjia moimirira. No na kuri oguo commission ino nyitirire ati aria maratetia moimirira maya matire na uira wina muthingi tondu matiari na agents ceceni-ini cia guikiria kura kuria moimirira ma mwisho moimaga na kuria uira wa kwagarara mawatho ma ithurano ungiuma.
There is nothing wrong with IEBC. There is nothing wrong with Wafula Chebukati. There is something very wrong. There is something very wrong in the way the persons who participate in the electoral process accept winning or losing. That's the problem.
We are asking you to give us back our country. Determine that there were no infringements, that we had a proper election. We have been in election mode for so long. The only thing that creates wealth is actually working. And this is not work.
IEBC, President Muthure William Ruto na munini wake Rigathi Gachagua merite igoti ati muthiaine riaga gukindira moimerera ma giturwa gia president toria manirirwo rikarikia bururi irimaine kwiruta kugakorwo kuri undu muritu tondu ang'ethaniri ao matigetikira gucoka githurano-ini mogaruruku commission-ini ya githurano matekitwo undu uria utangikinyanirio na thiku 60 cia githurano kia njoko. Ngiribotera Inoro TV, Jitagwo Waweru wa Nyambura.
Komishoni ya githurano na mihaka IEBC yugite Raila Odinga ndari na oira wa kuonania maumirira maria mari fomu-ini ya 34A ni macenjirio. Mawakiri ya komishoni yo macoreire igoti bisha ya uria mitambo ya IEBC yagitiritwo gutigirira ati ni ateithiriria githurano gutafanio na njira iraumirira kana irarumirira watho. Na toria mwariki witu gathoni wa Njihia aratariria IEBC ni taririo ria fomu iria ciarehagwo kuma ceceni-ini cia guikiria kura ciahitukagirio moko-ini maataramu a mitambo wa commission ino mari hamwe na agent ahorani agituro kia president.
IEBC ikinyite mbere ya acirithania mugwanja a igoti itugiru gutetera mitambo yayo iria yahuthirirwo gutafania githurano na iria athitangani magwetete ta igeca riria riatumire maimirira ma githurano kia mweri muhituku mage gwitikirika ni mwaho umwe. Kumana na bata wa maimirira maria mandikitwo fomu-ini 34A, IEBC niyonanitie gikiro kia ugitiri uria fomu ici ihetwo kuma ire ceceni-ini ya wikia wa kura igitumwo na mitambo na riria iratwarwo ceceni-ini nene ya gutara kura ni maabitha aria marugamirire githurano.
Each of the forms that get there are serialized, and the serialization is tied to the polling station. It is tied to the date, to the time, up to the second when that form was received. It then, as an additional property, gives you a tab to be able to confirm or verify whether there's been any alteration on the form from the time it was transmitted.
Mawakiri IEBC mateteire mitambo ya komishoni ino kumana na thitango cia Raila Odinga ciate kwari na andu mahingagiriria form 34A itanakinya Bomas makiuga mahitia ta maya mangiahanikire mangiamenyekaga na uhuthu ni undu wa signature ya kiriu iria form ici cikoragwo nayo na iria ingiteithiriria kuonania form ni yacererwo gukinya Bomas kuringana na mathaa maria etumitwo.
So as it is transmitted, it is not in the form of what we would imagine the image of form 34A. If I was to use an example, if it was to be a water pipe and it is to be encrypted, it means if you broke into that water pipe, because we all know that the chemical formula of water is H2O, you'll get your hydrogen on one side, you'll get your oxygen on one side. It then means you'd not be able to make sense of that water that you're looking for.
Wakiri wa IEBC Eric Gumbo ateanirie mihitwa ya John Githongo uria uranyita mbaru cira wa Raila Odinga uria aheanite muhiano wa form 34A yacenjirio kuma Tiaty kaunti-ini ya Baringo na akihuthira mwihitwa wa murugamiriri wa mitambo ya IEBC Michael Uma. Gumbo erite igoti uira ucio ni wa maheni.
In fact, the form that was uploaded or that was attached in the affidavit of John Mark Githongo is not a form that arose from the process that that they allude or allege it arose from. That according to him, this form was downloaded. Somebody tried to interfere with the details on it and attached it to an affidavit. Now that, if you asked me, is perhaps the silliest way of doing any of these things, because if somebody asked you whether that form was authentic, you only need to look at the public portal. You then need to verify it with the form 34A that was presented. My ladies and my lords, as a statutory requirement, we delivered all the form 34As to this court. We have a copy. The entire public has copies of each and every of those documents. Our team went through those documents, and in relation to that specific form 34A, to say the least, it's a forgery.
IEBC oho ihithuritie ati uira umwe uria utamanitio igoti-ini ni athitangani umanite na githurano kia mwaka wa 2017 undu uria matamburite kumana na gucenjio kwa rekodi cia IEBC githurano-ini kia mwaka uyu.
If you look at the manner in which those forms, those logs are structured, they serialized. In 2017, the IEBC serialized its logs using the names of the constituencies. In that particular log, you'll find a name Changamwe. This time round, they did not use the names of the constituencies. They used the serial numbers. So that is the first inconsistency. Looking at those logs again, you see the name of one Asenge running an IEBC email account. Asenge was one of the returning officers of the IEBC in Changamwe in 2017. One is then left to wonder, at what point do we get to even forging documents, forging logs, to be able to demonstrate our case?
Mawakiri a IEBC maugete ni maiganire na mitambo iria yahuthikire na riboti ya maimirira ma githurano giki niyo itumite magĩe na wĩira mũiganu ati ni yahuthikire gukinyaniria watho wa githurano kiena mana waragania. Ngiribotera Inoro TV, njitagwo Gathoni wa Jehia.
Commission ya ithurano na mihaka nĩ ithingĩrĩirie atĩ yatabanirie gĩthurano na ũigĩrĩrĩki na gĩthomo kĩnene kĩrĩa gĩathomirwo cira-inĩ ũrĩa wombanĩire ũruti wĩra wayo gĩthurano-inĩ kĩa njoko kĩa mwaka wa 2017. Cira-inĩ ũrĩa ũratetia ũhotani wa President Mũthure William Ruto, mawakiri a Ruto maugĩte amathitangi nĩ maremetwo kuonania ũrĩa form 34A ciathogirwo. Mwandĩki witũ Julius Karithi wa Mũnene nĩwe ũharĩrĩirie riboti ĩno.
Mawakiri ya President Mũthure William Ruto na Commission ya ithurano na mihaka meyarĩire kĩharo-inĩ gĩa cira ũrĩa ũratetia ũhotani wa William Ruto na waragania wa Commission ya IEBC harĩ gũtabania gĩthurano gĩa tarĩki 9 mweri wa 8 kĩrĩa rĩu kĩigĩrĩirwo gacũmbĩrĩ-inĩ ka ratiri ya watho. Ũgerera wakiri wa IEBC na mũikarĩri gĩtĩ wayo Wafula Chebukati Githu Muigai, IEBC ni yatabanire ithurano irĩ na uma na waragania kũrũmĩrĩra watho amu gĩthomo kĩrĩa mathomire cira-inĩ wa gĩthurano kĩa njoko mwaka wa 2017 marauga gĩtingĩetĩkĩrire macokere mahĩtia marĩa mamĩgomeire.
My lords, you have been urged by several counsel who have spoken before me to find that this election was irretrievably flawed. That from the word go, one counsel said, and I quote, everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Mawakiri aya marauga gũtirĩ wĩira ũronania atĩ form 34A iria ciarĩ ceceni-inĩ cia ũikia wa kura nĩ ngũrani na iria ciarĩ gĩtarũ-inĩ kĩnene gĩa kura Bomas, atĩ amathitangi maratetia mũtaratara wa kwanĩrĩra maumĩrĩra ma Bomas, ĩndĩ ti kĩũria gĩa kana ithabu rĩa kura nĩ rĩaingĩranaga.
I submit that the petitioners have failed to discharge their burden of proof, which is above balance of probabilities, to demonstrate that indeed there was any deficiency or defect in Form 34A or in their transmission, and I adopt the submissions made by my colleagues, especially for IEBC.
Petitioners have not challenged Form 34A in that respect, so that the votes that were cast and tabulated in that respect remain unchallenged. And where they have challenged, we have demonstrated before this court that it is unfounded, it is based on generalization, and it is based on conjecture.
Magitetera ũhotani wa Ruto, mawakiri yake matongoretio nĩ Fred Ngatia morĩtie amathitangi monanie fomu ĩmwe ya 34A ĩrĩa ĩtaratwarana na iria ingĩ, makiuga amathitangi nĩ maremetwo gwĩtambũrũkia na kuonania ũira wa atĩ nĩ magĩthurano kĩarĩ gĩthoge.
There is no area in this country that did not participate in that voting. Accordingly, legitimacy, I go to the next point, legitimacy of any electoral victory is predicated on the fact that voting did in fact take place.
Gati oreti igotire itua riri no baciriru munene kuona itua ritari riagiriru no ririkie bururi haceke amu igotire gukorwo riumite a Kenya kioto kiao na kurikia bururi mutugo-ini wa ateti kuhanyuka igoti-ini riri o hindi hotani waga kugwa mwena wao.
The solution he offers is that there be an election presided over by the vice chair lady of IEBC. And only one needs to state that to see the crisis that this country will be engaged in. It will be a crisis of monumental nature, a crisis that I do not think that you would want to play with that kind of fire, because it will be fire upon fire.
Kiuria gia kana utari wa kura na wanirira wa maumirira ni wekirwo na njira ya utheri na waragania. IBC yugete gutiri undu wagararirwo kuona amemba commission ino ni makuruhanirio na tona ma agent ya huraniria giturwa kia president mekiraga uira ikinya gwa ikinya wa kire gia kinyagio ceceni-ini ya utari wa kura hatari ngarari na gukiri uguo makauga mathitangi mafati kwiyuria kiuria gia kana ni mari na ma agent ehokeku handu ha gukuithia igoti na bururi murigo wa kwenda kura itaro ringi.
It is made worse, my ladies and my lords, by the fact that the petitions make grave allegations of a criminal nature: fraud, tampering with election materials and results, conspiracy to unlawfully influence an election outcome, and even implied treason.
Mawakiri aya marauga ikinya ria gucenjia mithenya ya gutabania ithurano icigo-ini itiganite yari na gitumi wona maratathi ni matukanite na mamenyaga o mathaini ma hwaini na ati ona cabithia maratathi maya ni makinyirwo ni ndeto eno na makiranira gucabithia maratathi mangi hatari thogora wa njoherera.
The verification and tallying happened and was done by the chairperson, commissioners of IBC and the staff at the National Tallying Center in the presence of the candidates of the agents of the presidential candidates.
Wonini wa wakiri wa IBC Kamau Karori Chebukati ni agitiritwo ni watho kwanirira maumirira ma githurano ari kana atari hamwe na makomishona ona kana githimi kia wingi wao. Muthenya wa gatano kiumia giki nirio mena yothe irigirirwo kurika nderetini ya gucokaniria IBC na mwana wa president Muthure makirigirira kuheo anja ciuri iria matemanitie mbere ya igoti riri gukinyagia hwaini wa muthenya wa kana kiumia giki. Girifotera Inoro TV Jitagwo Julius Kareithi wa munene.
Maabitha a igoti aria mehokeirwo wira wa gutara ringi kura cia ceceni 41 ni marikitie makirigirirwo gutamania riboti yao mbere ya igoti muthenya wa gatano. Maabitha aya maugite thengia kurora wagiriru wa mathanduku ma kura no mararoraga kana form 34A cia mathanduku-ini maya na kuoya mawoni ma agent a huraniria gituro ya president. Masewadi wa Murithi ni wina riboti ino.
Thutha wa igoti kwathana mathanduku ma wikia wa kura kuma ceceni 41 mataro utari uyu ni urikite na riboti kathagathago na riu kiregetereirwo ni riboti ino kubeano igoti-ini
not to be part of making that report.
Musirithania munene Martha Koome ugite bindi ya gikaro kia igoti muthenya wa gatano maubithaya makabeo ibinda ria kuthathaura riboti yao na kube agents ma aburaniri ma giturwa gia president mweke wa kubeana mawoni mao megie riboti iyo. Nyondo wa kubanyukia mutaratara uyu mwandikithia wa masira ma igoti itugiru uria niwe urugamirire mibango eno ugite marambire kwegayania timu igire niguo kubanyukia mutaratara uyu.
In total we have received 41 ballot boxes, and we opened all of them and got the form that we had wanted from the particular boxes, and the data was recorded.
Maugite ni maronire maundu maria marabataraga kumenya mathanduku-ini maya na thutha wa kumabetukira marakinyaniria gikiro gia kwandikiro riboti.
So we will be giving a report in terms of every material that we found inside the boxes that we looked at.
We did this process together. We did our observations. We considered your comments, and we're going to make our findings in the report writing, and then the court will rule. It's only the court which will make a decision after considering what we are going to put in the report.
Magitariria maundu ma mwanya maria marabangaga kuroro munini wa mwandikithia wa masira igoti-ini itugiru Elizabeth Tanui ugite undu wa mbere ni kurora kiria kiri thiini wa ithanduku riu, kurora kana bomu 34A ire kuo na namba ya ithanduku. Ngiribotera Inoro TV, Jetago Masi, wadia wa Muriithi.
Jirekeria twabe tumuke hanini tugicokereria tore mage maige.
Unataka kuwa fresh na confident siku nzima? Ongeza Downy Concentrate mwisho ukirinse nguo. Teknolojia yake speciali itazuia harufu mbaya kushika nguo zako, huku ikitoa harufu freshi siku nzima.
Hata nikisweat, siku nzima niko freshi, niko Downy. Ijaribu sasa kwa 20 bob tu.
Kabuni ya Roiro Mabati Factory nemo yathondeki njuru a mabati ma kugita nyumba. Tuthondekaga mabati mithemba miingi na magikiro kia iguru maria maturaga ihinda iraihu na magathakaria mugitire wa nyumba yaku makiria. Mabati maya metagwo box profile, Europe tile, Jenga tile, corrugated S profile na mangĩ maingĩ na mokaga na marangi maingĩ ngũrani. Mabati maitũ nĩ metiragia mbura nene na riũa rĩhiũ na koguo makagĩrĩra nyũmba cia biacara na cia gũikarwo. Nĩguo gwetia oda yaku, tucerere showroom-inĩ itũ mwena wa Roiro Town na no tucerere rũrenda-inĩ rwitũ nĩruo www.roiromabati.co.ke kana ũkenerere ũtungata wa kũreherwo mabati maku harĩ ũrĩ gwa kahinda ka mathaa 72 tu. Roiro Mabati Factory, mali safi kwa bei poa.
Wema Gardens na Rumoro ni mugunda mwega mwa Optiven uriori only 400 meters kumaramine. Brotishine cia 50 by 100 na gukuno wake mushikiro lerwa cottages ona kana holiday homes. Neighbors ni makete.